The truck was rolling, the cameras were rolling, investors were cheering, and the stock price was exploding upward. But there was one detail about how that truck was moving that nobody was supposed to notice. Before we go any further, tell me in the comments where you are watching from, because this story went global faster than the truth ever could. And if you love scam stories where billion-dollar dreams collapse under basic physics, subscribe to ScamSphere, because once this illusion starts sliding downhill, it never stops. Nikola Motors burst onto the scene, promising nothing less than the future of transportation: hydrogen-powered semi-trucks, revolutionary batteries, zero emissions, zero compromises. It was not just a company, it was a vision. And Silicon Valley loves visions more than facts. The founder spoke in bold statements, the branding screamed innovation, and the timing was perfect. Electric vehicles were the new gold rush, and Nikola positioned itself as Tesla's heavyweight rival. The story sold itself. While others focused on passenger cars, Nikola claimed it was tackling the hard problem: heavy trucks, long distances, hydrogen fuel cells, a clean energy revolution that would disrupt logistics, oil, and transportation all at once. Investors did not hear risk. They heard inevitability. The company went public through a special purpose acquisition company, bypassing the traditional scrutiny of an IPO. Overnight, Nikola's valuation soared into the tens of billions of dollars. At its peak, it was worth more than established automakers that had been building vehicles for over a century. Factories, revenues, and finished products were treated as optional details. What mattered was belief. Nikola showed sleek prototypes, futuristic renderings, confident demonstrations, videos of trucks driving across open landscapes. Executives spoke about proprietary technology that competitors could not match. Partnerships were announced with major corporations, lending legitimacy to claims that otherwise sounded impossible. The audience wanted to believe. Behind the scenes, however, Nikola was not engineering miracles. It was engineering perception. The trucks shown in promotional material were often non-functional prototypes. Some had no working drivetrain. Some relied on off-the-shelf components repackaged as innovation. The company spoke about revolutionary in-house technology while quietly outsourcing critical systems. But the illusion held because complexity intimidates skepticism. Hydrogen fuel cells, battery chemistry, and heavy-duty drivetrains are difficult to understand. When explanations sound technical enough, most people stop asking questions. The most infamous moment arrived with a promotional video meant to silence critics. A Nikola truck was shown driving smoothly down a road, presented as proof that the technology worked. The message was clear. This was real. This was operational. This was the future. What the video did not show was the incline. The truck was not powered. It was rolling downhill. That detail remained hidden long enough to do its job. The stocks surged. Confidence solidified. Doubters were dismissed as haters or shorts. The founder became a media figure, celebrated as a visionary entrepreneur challenging the establishment. Internally, the reality was far less heroic. Engineers raised concerns. Timelines slipped. Promised breakthroughs failed to materialize. Instead of solving engineering problems, the company leaned harder into storytelling. Press releases replaced progress. Ambition substituted for achievement. Nikola claimed to have developed proprietary batteries when evidence suggested otherwise. It claimed advanced hydrogen infrastructure that did not exist. It claimed technological superiority while purchasing components from suppliers anyone could access. The gap between promise and reality widened, but the stock price insulated the narrative from scrutiny. The danger of hype is not that it lies. It is that it delays truth. That delay ended abruptly when an investigative report detonated across financial markets. The report accused Nikola of being an elaborate fraud, alleging that many of its claims were exaggerated or outright false. It questioned the functionality of the trucks, the legitimacy of the technology, and the credibility of leadership. The response was immediate and violent. Shares collapsed. Confidence evaporated. Partnerships unraveled. Regulators began circling. What had been framed as the future of clean transportation suddenly looked like a mirage held together by press releases. Nikola denied the allegations, but explanations struggled to keep pace with evidence. Statements contradicted earlier claims. Videos were re-examined. Technical assertions were dissected by experts who found little substance beneath the surface. The founder resigned amid mounting pressure. Investigations expanded. Lawsuits followed. What once felt unstoppable now looked fragile, even ridiculous. The same ambition that fueled the rise accelerated the fall. The darkest irony was not the deception itself. It was how unnecessary it was. Nikola could have built slowly, could have admitted challenges, could have been honest about timelines. Instead, it chose spectacle over substance, betting that belief would outpace reality indefinitely. But reality does not negotiate. As the dust settled, the broader lesson emerged. Nikola was not just a company that overpromised. It was a case study in how modern markets reward confidence more than competence. How complex technology becomes a shield for exaggeration. How storytelling, when unchecked, can inflate nothing into billions. The trucks that were supposed to redefine transportation became symbols of something else entirely. A reminder that innovation cannot be faked forever. That gravity applies to more than vehicles. And that when a company spends more energy convincing the world it has arrived than actually building something, the fall is inevitable. This was only the beginning of Nikola's unraveling. The most damning revelations were still ahead, buried beneath legal filings, internal messages, and the quiet admissions that came when the cameras turned off. Once the illusion cracked, it did not crumble quietly. It imploded. Investors who had once defended Nikola with religious certainty now scrambled for explanations. Analysts who had praised its vision rewrote their notes overnight. What had been framed as revolutionary technology was suddenly examined with unforgiving precision, and under that light, the substance simply was not there. Regulators began asking questions Nikola could not answer cleanly. Claims that once sounded bold now sounded reckless. Statements made in interviews contradicted technical realities. Internal emails and testimonies revealed a culture where ambition routinely outran capability. Engineers struggled to meet impossible deadlines while executives continued to promise breakthroughs that did not exist. The trucks themselves became evidence. Investigators confirmed what critics had suspected. Many prototypes were non-functional. Some could not drive under their own power. Others relied heavily on third-party components that Nikola had publicly implied were proprietary. The hydrogen technology that was supposed to separate Nikola from competitors was years away from viability, if it was viable at all. The founder, once celebrated as a visionary, became the focal point of scrutiny. Prosecutors accused him of misleading investors through exaggerated claims and deceptive demonstrations. Statements about battery technology, truck performance, and manufacturing readiness were dissected line by line. Each exaggeration added weight to the case that Nikola was not just optimistic, but fundamentally dishonest. The market responded without mercy. Billions in valuation evaporated. Retail investors who had bought into the dream watched their savings shrink. Institutional investors distanced themselves. Partnerships dissolved quietly, leaving behind carefully worded statements that avoided blame while signaling retreat. Nikola attempted to survive the fallout. Leadership changed, strategies were revised, public apologies were issued. But credibility once lost is almost impossible to rebuild. Every announcement was now met with skepticism. Every prototype was viewed as theater. The company had poisoned its own future by accelerating too fast on promises it could not keep. Courtrooms replaced conference stages. Legal filings replaced press releases. The founder faced criminal charges, accused of securities fraud and wire fraud. Prosecutors painted a picture not of a misunderstood innovator, but of a man who understood exactly how far storytelling could stretch before snapping. The trial exposed the machinery behind the hype. Witnesses described internal chaos. Employees testified about pressure to support claims they knew were false. Demonstrations were planned for optics rather than accuracy. The goal was never readiness, it was momentum. What made the story especially chilling was how familiar it felt. Nikola was not an anomaly. It was the extreme version of a system that rewards confidence over caution. In a market obsessed with disruption, the loudest voice often wins, even when it has nothing to deliver. The verdict was devastating. Guilty, the sentence followed. Prison time, fines, public disgrace. The fall was complete. The man who promised to reinvent transportation became a cautionary tale taught in business schools and whispered about in investor circles. Nikola Motors continued to exist, stripped of its mythology, reduced ambitions, realistic timelines. But the damage was irreversible. The name itself became synonymous with deception. No amount of restructuring could erase the memory of trucks rolling downhill while investors cheered. The deeper lesson was not about one company or one founder. It was about how easily belief can be manufactured when technical complexity shields exaggeration. How modern markets incentivize vision without verification. How storytelling, when amplified by media and money, can temporarily override physics itself. The tragedy was not just financial, it was cultural. Nikola thrived because people wanted a miracle. Clean energy, revolutionary transport. A hero who could challenge the giants. That desire created a blind spot, and the company drove straight through it. In the end, the trucks did not change the world. They revealed it. They showed how far a narrative can carry a company before gravity intervenes. They exposed the cost of confusing ambition with achievement. Nikola Motors will be remembered not for innovation, but for illusion. For proving that in the age of hype, a rolling object does not need an engine if belief is strong enough to push it forward, at least for a while. And if you think this scam was thrilling, wait until you hear about the next one. Because there are deceptions even larger and darker than this. And if you do not want to miss the next story where ambition turns into evidence, subscribe to ScamSphere, where every illusion eventually collides with reality.